Have you ever felt like the noise in your mind just won't stop? Like your thoughts are a river overflowing its banks, too fast, too loud, too much? Buddhism doesn't tell you to fight the noise. It invites you to sit beside it, to breathe, and to listen to the gentle ripples of wisdom passed down for over 2,500 years. In this video, let me share with you 10 ancient Buddhist stories. Simple, beautiful, and deeply healing. Stories that don't lecture but whisper. Whispers that may just quiet your restless heart. Sit back. Breathe slowly. Let these stories flow through you. Story 1. The Two Monks and the Woman. Long ago in Japan, two Buddhist monks were traveling together. A senior monk named Tanzan and his younger companion Aikido. The day was hot. Their robes were dusty. The sun hung lazily in the sky, and the path before them twisted through valleys and streams. As part of their monastic vows, they walked in silence, practicing mindfulness with every step. Eventually, they came upon a shallow river, swollen from recent rain. The current was strong, not impossible to cross, but challenging. Standing at the edge of the river was a young woman dressed in fine silk garments. She was anxious, pacing back and forth, clearly afraid to step into the water. Her long kimono would be soaked, and she had no way across. Without hesitation, the elder monk, Tanzan, stepped forward. He gently bowed to the woman, then picked her up in his arms. With careful, deliberate steps, he waded through the current and carried her to the other side. Once they reached dry ground, he set her down, bowed again, and continued walking. The woman thanked him softly, bowed in return, and walked away toward her village. But Aikido, the younger monk, stood frozen, his eyes wide, his lips tight. He quickly followed Tanzan, but his mind was no longer at peace. Hours passed. They walked in silence as the sun sank lower and the path narrowed. But Aikido could not hold it in any longer. With frustration in his voice, he finally burst out, "Brother Tanzan! We monks do not touch women. It is against our vows. How could you have carried her?" Tanzan stopped walking. He turned and looked at his younger companion. His face was calm, eyes gentle. "I set the woman down at the riverbank," he said. "Why are you still carrying her?" Moment of silence. Reflective music swells softly. This story, though simple, holds a profound truth. Often, it is not the event that disturbs our peace, but our attachment to it. The moment had passed. The act was over. But Aikido, like many of us, carried it in his mind, feeding it, replaying it, judging it. Tanzan acted from compassion. He saw someone in need and helped, without desire, without hesitation, without clinging. He moved on, peacefully, mindfully. How often do we do the opposite? How often do we carry things long after they're gone? A harsh word from someone hours ago, a mistake we made last year, an expectation not met. These things become heavy stones we carry in our thoughts, weighing down the present moment. But here is the invitation from this story. Let it go. You don't need to carry what no longer serves you. Soft. The river has long passed. Set down your burden and keep walking. Story 2. The Empty Cup. In a quiet village nestled between misty mountains, there lived a renowned Zen master. His wisdom was known across the land, and many came to seek his guidance. One day, a wealthy scholar from the city arrived at the monastery. He was a man of great intellect, educated, eloquent, and full of opinions. He had read many scriptures, studied various philosophies, and believed he already understood the nature of enlightenment. But still, his heart was restless, his mind like a storm, and so he came, hoping that the Zen master could offer him something deeper. He was greeted with grace. The old monk welcomed him into a simple tea room. Nothing more than bamboo mats, paper walls, and the scent of incense in the air. They bowed, sat down across from each other, and the master began to pour tea. The scholar immediately began talking. He spoke of ideas, theories, spiritual texts he had memorized, all in an effort to impress, to show what he already knew. His words flowed endlessly, as if he was trying to prove himself even as he sought peace. Meanwhile, the master remained silent. He simply smiled and poured the tea. He poured and poured until the cup was full, but he did not stop. The tea began to overflow. It ran down the sides of the cup onto the table, dripping onto the floor. The scholar gasped. "Stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." The master looked at him calmly. "You are like this cup," he said, "so full of your own ideas that nothing more can be added. Until you empty your cup, how can I show you the way?" This story is gentle yet powerful. Many of us come to life, to relationships, to learning, even to spiritual practice, with a cup that is already overflowing with assumptions, with pride, with the need to be right, with the noise of our own inner voice. And yet, peace only comes when we are willing to unfill ourselves, to release what we think we know, to be still, to become open like the sky. In Buddhism, this openness is the beginning of wisdom. Not cleverness, not memorized teachings, but the humility to say, "I don't know, I'm ready to listen." When the mind becomes quiet, like an empty bowl, only then can it receive the nourishment it has been seeking. So, empty your cup, make space for stillness, and you might just find the answers were waiting in the silence all along. Story 3. The moon cannot be stolen. It was a quiet evening in the hills of Kyoto. The sun had set and the air was cool. A Zen master named Ryokan sat peacefully inside his small wooden hut, his home for many years. Ryokan was a simple monk. He owned almost nothing, just a worn robe, a begging bowl, and the little hut made of bamboo and love. His life was still, his heart open like the sky. He spent his days writing poems, walking among the trees, smiling at the wind, and bowing to the stars. One night, as he returned to his hut after a walk through the forest, he discovered the door slightly ajar. Inside, it was empty. A thief had come while Ryokan was away. There was nothing of value to take, of course, but the thief had taken his spare robe, perhaps the only extra belonging Ryokan had. The hut was cold, the floor was bare, and yet Ryokan did not grow angry. He sat down quietly and looked out through the window at the night sky. The moon was full, brilliant, resting like a pearl on the black velvet of the heavens. Then Ryokan smiled. He whispered softly to himself, "Poor fellow. I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon." This story is more than just poetry. It is an invitation. An invitation to realize that what we truly own, the deep peace within, the beauty of presence, the richness of a calm heart, can never be stolen. Ryokan lost his robe, but not his serenity, not his kindness, not his freedom. The thief may have taken cloth, but Ryokan still had the moon, still had the night sky, still had his joy. In a world so focused on possession, we forget that the most precious things, a moment of stillness, the softness of breath, the moonlight through your window, these cannot be taken. You are already rich, not in what you hold, but in what you let go of. Let them take the robe. You still have the moon, and perhaps that's all you ever needed. Story 4. The sound of one hand clapping. In a quiet monastery nestled deep in the mountains of Japan, a young student approached his Zen master with great determination. He had practiced diligently for months, sweeping the temple, sitting in silence, breathing through long hours of meditation. But still, his mind felt restless, his heart unfulfilled. So one morning, as fog rolled in through the pine trees, the student bowed and asked the master, "Master, what is the sound of one hand clapping?" The old monk looked at him gently but said nothing. Instead, he slowly raised one hand in the air, palm open, fingers soft, and held it there in silence. The student watched. No sound, no answer. Confused, the student bowed again and returned to his mat. He sat in silence, pondering. Days passed, then weeks. The question began to haunt him. He would sit in the forest, holding one hand in the air, listening. He'd watch the wind blow through the bamboo, listening. He'd stay up at night watching the stars, listening. But no answer came. Frustration rose, then faded, then rose again. He tried to think his way through it. He tried to hear something that wasn't there, but all he heard was silence. Eventually, the student stopped searching. He stopped chasing the answer. And one morning, while watching a dewdrop fall from a leaf into a still pond, he smiled. Not because he had found the answer, but because he no longer needed one. This is the gift of Zen. Not a puzzle to be solved, but a door to be walked through. The sound of one hand clapping is not meant to be figured out. It's meant to crack the shell of logic, to invite us beyond thought, into presence. It is a mirror, a reflection of your own mind trying to grasp what cannot be grasped. When the mind gives up, what remains is awareness, still, open, infinite. You may ask, but what's the real answer? And the answer is this: when you stop needing the answer, you've already begun to understand. So tell me, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Story 5. The Poisoned Arrow. Long ago, during the time of the Buddha, a man came to him, not to learn but to argue. He was intelligent, curious, but also full of doubt. He had heard of the Buddha's teachings, the peace his followers found, the clarity they spoke of. But this man was skeptical, so he came to the Buddha with a mind full of questions. "Why do you say the soul is not eternal?" he asked. "What happens after death? Does the universe have a beginning? Are the gods real? Is there a creator?" He kept going, question after question, demanding answers before he would even consider walking the path. The Buddha listened patiently, his eyes soft, unmoving. Then he said, "Imagine this. A man is shot with a poisoned arrow. His friends and family rush to save him. A healer comes, ready to remove the arrow and give medicine. But the man says, 'Wait. Before you treat me, I need to know who shot the arrow. Was he tall? Was he short? What caste was he from? What kind of bow did he use? What wood was the arrow made from? What bird gave the feathers? What poison did he use and where did he learn it?' If he waits to have all those questions answered, he will die." The Buddha then looked at the man before him and said, "You are that wounded man, and your mind is the poisoned arrow. So many of us live this way. We are wounded by stress, by sorrow, by fear, by loss. And yet instead of seeking healing, we fill our minds with endless questions. Why did this happen to me? What is the purpose of my pain? What if things had gone differently? We want to understand before we allow ourselves to heal. But healing does not require understanding. It requires acceptance, stillness, letting go. The Buddha taught that some questions are distractions, not because they are unimportant, but because they pull us away from this moment. Right now, you are alive. You are breathing. You are capable of awakening. That is enough to begin. Don't waste your life searching for the archer. Remove the arrow, let yourself heal, and walk on in peace. Story 6. The Monk Who Kept Sweeping. In a monastery hidden among tall trees and morning mist, the days passed in quiet routines, chanting, meditation, silence, and chores. One of the oldest monks in the monastery was known for doing the same thing every day, without fail. He swept. He swept the stone path from the temple to the garden. He swept the leaves from the courtyard. He swept the meditation hall, even when it was already clean. Day after day, hour after hour, the soft shh, shh, shh of his broom was a familiar song to everyone who lived there. One afternoon, a young novice finally asked him, "Master, why do you sweep so much? Even when there's nothing to sweep." The old monk paused. He leaned gently on his broom, looked at the young monk, and smiled. "I'm not sweeping the floor," he said. "I'm sweeping my mind." This story may seem simple, but it speaks to something deeply forgotten in our modern world. We are taught to only value results, to only work if there is something to be gained, to only act if something is dirty or broken. But mindfulness does not wait for a reason. Mindfulness is found in the motion, not the outcome. For the old monk, sweeping was not about removing leaves. It was a meditation, a way to stay present, to breathe with each motion, to clear the dust not from the floor, but from the restless corners of the mind. How often do we go through our days rushing from task to task, washing dishes, folding clothes, walking, waiting, all done with impatience, frustration, or distraction? But what if every act became sacred? What if each task was a broom for the soul? The monks understood. The path to peace is not found in doing extraordinary things. It's found in doing ordinary things, extraordinarily present. So when you clean, clean your mind. When you walk, walk fully. When you breathe, breathe gently. Let each moment sweep you back into now. Story 7. The Farmer's Luck. In a small rural village, surrounded by golden fields and forested hills, there lived a humble farmer. He was quiet, kind, and content with the simple rhythm of life, planting, watering, harvesting, resting. One day, his horse, the only one he had, ran away into the wild. Hearing the news, his neighbors came to visit. "What terrible luck," they said. "How will you plow your fields now? This is a disaster." The farmer simply shrugged and replied, "Maybe." A few days later, the runaway horse returned and brought with it 3 wild horses from the mountains. Now, the farmer had 4 horses. The neighbors came again, this time excited. "What wonderful luck," they said. "You're rich now. So many horses." The farmer gently smiled and said, "Maybe." A week later, his son tried to ride one of the wild horses, but the horse bucked and the boy fell hard, breaking his leg. The neighbors came once more, shaking their heads. "What horrible luck," they sighed. "Your only son, injured so badly. Who will help you with the farm?" The farmer looked at them with calm eyes. "Maybe," he said. Not long after, soldiers rode into the village. A war had begun. They came to take all the young men to fight, but when they saw the farmer's son with his broken leg, they left him behind. The neighbors returned, weeping for their own sons, and said, "Your son was spared. What good luck." The farmer, as always, said softly, "Maybe." This is the way of life. It rises, it falls, it breaks, it heals, it gives, it takes away. And yet, we suffer so much because we try to label every moment. This is good. This is bad. This is what should be. But the truth is, we don't know. What looks like a blessing may bring pain. What feels like a curse may reveal a hidden gift. When we stop judging every event, when we let go of the need to control the story, we begin to trust the unfolding. That trust, that surrender, is peace. Let life flow. Don't rush to label the moment. Just smile gently and say, maybe. Story 8, The Rock and the River. A young disciple came to his master, his face tense, his shoulders tight. He had been meditating for weeks, trying to calm his mind. But instead, his thoughts had only grown louder. "I don't understand," the student said. "I sit in silence, I focus on my breath, but I feel restless. No matter how hard I try, peace slips away like water through my hands." The master listened without speaking. Then he stood and gestured for the student to follow him. They walked through a quiet forest path, the air fresh with the scent of pine. Eventually they reached a river, wide and calm, flowing gently between mossy banks. Without a word, the master picked up a smooth, round stone and threw it into the middle of the river. Plunk. It sank silently beneath the surface. "Do you see the rock?" the master asked. The student nodded. "And the river?" Again, he nodded. The master turned to him and said, "Be like the rock, let your thoughts sink. But be like the river too, let everything pass." In that simple act, the master revealed a powerful truth. You don't need to control the river. You don't need to stop it. You don't need to fight the current. Your thoughts, your fears, your worries, they are like water, always moving. But you are not the water. You are the stone beneath it. Still, grounded, unshaken. When we try to resist life, to control every emotion, to stop every thought, to force calm, we become like someone trying to dam the entire river with bare hands. It is exhausting, it is impossible, and it only causes more suffering. But when we learn to sit like the rock, to let thoughts come and go like ripples, we begin to find peace, not in silence, but in stillness. Let your mind be the river. Let your heart be the rock. Flow and rest, move and remain. Feel everything, but hold on to nothing. Peace isn't found by stopping the current. It's found by learning how to float. Story 9, The Begging Bowl. The Buddha, as was his daily practice, walked slowly through a nearby village with his alms bowl in hand. He wore no jewelry, no crown, no armor, only simple robes and an even simpler presence. As he moved, he didn't beg, he didn't demand. He simply walked, open to receive whatever people were willing to give, rice, fruit, or even nothing at all. In one village, as he approached a house, a man came out, but instead of offering food, he exploded in anger. He shouted insults, cursed the Buddha's name, spat on the ground in front of him. He said, "You beg because you're weak. You're a parasite, a disgrace." But the Buddha stood quietly, his eyes calm like a still lake. When the man finally paused to catch his breath, the Buddha spoke. "May I ask you a question?" The man, still fuming, sneered, "What is it?" "If someone offers you a gift," the Buddha said, "and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man blinked, confused. To the one who offered it, of course. The Buddha gently nodded. Then I do not accept your anger. It belongs to you. This story holds a lesson that can save you from countless moments of suffering. We live in a world full of words. Harsh comments, judgment, jealousy, misunderstanding. It comes from strangers, from friends, from family, sometimes even from within ourselves. But here is the truth. You don't have to take it in. You don't have to carry it, just as you would not pick up a burning coal someone threw at you. You do not need to accept someone else's fire. The Buddha's peace was not because people treated him kindly. It was because he mastered the art of not reacting, of staying centered, of not picking up what wasn't his. When someone insults you, you can pause, you can breathe, you can say, even silently, "This does not belong to me." That is true power, not loud, not forceful, but unshakable. You are the keeper of your peace. Don't let others put things in your bowl that you did not ask for. Leave their anger with them and walk on in silence. Story 10. The Candle. A young man came to a monk, his eyes downcast, his voice trembling. He said, "Master, I feel surrounded by darkness. My thoughts are heavy. My heart feels hollow. Everything I once loved seems far away. I don't know how to move forward anymore." The monk looked at him kindly and said nothing at first. Instead, he stood up and motioned for the young man to follow him. They entered a small meditation hall. No windows, no sound. Just walls and stillness. The monk walked to a corner of the room and lit a single candle. A small flame flickered to life, casting a warm glow onto the walls. Then the monk turned and said, "You see, darkness is not something you fight. You do not chase it out with swords. You do not shout it away. You do not wrestle with it. You light a single flame, and the darkness retreats on its own." The young man stood still, watching that tiny flame, so fragile, so quiet. And yet, the entire room had changed. What was once unseen now had shape. What was once cold now felt warm. Not because everything had been lit, but because one small thing had. In our lives, we all have moments of darkness. Moments when the weight is too much, when we can't see the way, when the mind whispers, "It's hopeless." But we forget, you don't need to fix everything. You don't need to light the entire world. You only need to light one candle, one breath, one act of kindness, one moment of stillness, one whispered prayer. That is enough to begin. You are not asked to become the sun. You are only asked to light one small flame and let it glow. So tonight, if your world feels dark, don't run, just light your candle and watch how quietly the darkness disappears. Take a deep breath. Notice how your shoulders feel. Notice your breath. Softer now, perhaps. These stories aren't magic spells. They don't solve problems, but they remind you, you don't have to carry everything. You don't have to run. You don't have to fix the whole world to find peace. You only have to return to this moment, to breathe, to listen. And in that silence, you might just hear your heart whispering, "You are okay. You are enough. You are home." If this brought you peace, remember to share it with someone who needs it too. You're not alone on this path. We walk it together, slowly, silently, with strength. Subscribe to Silent Strength for more Buddhist-inspired stories that calm the heart and awaken the soul.